Right. I'm Arla Williams, and we have Sam Chandler, and this is Guiding Abundance podcast. We have a group, so if you're watching this, you're in the group. Sam will put it on YouTube so that you can watch it in its entirety on YouTube. But if you're here with us, you can be in the chat, and you also can come on when we have open forum if you've got a question or if you've got an experience that you want to share with us. We'd love to know that. So message Sam and he'll get you in on that. And we're excited about tonight. When you do these kinds of shows, you don't ever know what's gonna happen. So
yeah, my friend Terry, who I spoke about a couple weeks ago, she was going to come on with us, but she is recording an audiobook, and they underestimated the amount of time it was going to take, and so they're still recording it now, and she needed to postpone, so we are just doing us and whoever wants to come on.
All right. So what is Terry going to bring to us on the show when she comes?
Man, it's hard to sum it up into a few things. Like, I've known her since second grade, and she has so much stuff that she's gone through. And she lived we grew up outside of Washington, D.C. together. And then she went to Stanford for college. And when she left Stanford, she went and lived in the rainforest for a little while, in the Amazon rainforest. And then she came back and went through a whole bunch of life stuff. She went to Egypt for a while and went in the pyramids. She has cool stories about that. And she wrote a book about how to change your life story. And it's like this step-by-step book on how to rewrite your life story and kind of into a different perspective. And then it changes your life moving forward. And it's like a setting your intention and manifesting things for yourself.
Oh, wow. That sounds really interesting.
Yeah, it's a really cool book. And I told her I started doing it, and like I'm at this point now where I have to write this chapter. You have to write all this stuff down, and I'm like hesitant to do it. And I asked her, I was like, is this like a normal thing for people? And she was like, yeah, everyone does it. She was like, I do it too. She was like, it's just because you know after this point things are going to change, and unless you really want them to change, just so I'm like holding off on it. Even though I want things to change, I'm still like, man.
Well, even at that, you've already started a process of change. And pretty much your life is going to be going in a different direction at some point. Yeah. I would think that book would probably help you even more going into this change. I know it gets kind of scary if you think, oh, good grief, I think I know what I'm supposed to do. And now if I find out, whoa, this is not what I'm supposed to do, what am I supposed to do?
Right.
But with that keeps you from doing something that you're really not supposed to be doing, and puts you on the path to what it is that your soul says, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So
yeah, and she has it written out. She's written the book and then rewritten the book and taken things out and added things in, and she said she spent like thousands of hours writing it. So she's got it like perfected to like the step by step and
awesome
how to do things you don't, like how to not do things you don't want to do. And it's a really cool book. And she works with a lot of actors and actresses and artists and stuff to get them to get their stuff rolling. You know, she's
So is the book out?
yeah, it's called Write Yourself into Your Dreams. I should have brought it in here.
Awesome.
I have it downstairs. I should have brought it in. But
Awesome. Write yourself into your dreams.
yeah.
Can we get it on Amazon?
Yep. Yeah.
I'm gonna get it. Oh boy, here I think I know where I'm supposed to be going. Watch out, Matthew. Oh my goodness.
So yeah, anyone that wants to come on, I put the Zoom link in the comments and the description. So just come on. Like, we're just gonna chat and shoot the stuff.
As Sam and I can talk forever, but you know, we get started on something and then something comes up and then something else comes up and then something else comes up. And so there's a lot to talk about. I saw Cynthia Ross had an awesome bliss, and I'm hoping, Cynthia, if you're listening, you'll come on and talk a little bit about it and what was going on before you found it, which
Yeah, she
is
has some cool
pretty
glyphs.
interesting.
Yeah, she gets some really cool glyphs.
Yeah, she does. She's a lot of fun to be out with too. I've been up and out in the hills with her before, and then Matthew and I saw her in the winter one year, so when we had a snowstorm up there. But yeah, she's in such a beautiful area, and an area I love the Black Hills, and spent some time up there too. It's just a really special place. So
Yeah, it's on my list of places to go for sure.
awesome. So what did you gain from your being out this week?
Our little vacation.
Being out away from work and being out where you love to be. And
It was like a nice smack to the face, to be honest, because I haven't taken a vacation in a year, and I've been like full Capricorn mode. And I was, the kids' spring break was coming up, and I was like, well, maybe we can go like on a quick trip. And then it was just like, what are you doing, man? Take the week off. I have like 100 hours of PTO just sitting, and I was like, I need to take a week off. So I took the whole week off, and yeah, we went to Summer Lake Hot Springs in like South Central Oregon. And God, I've never been over there before, but it's beautiful. Like, I really thought it was going to be more. We've been spending a lot of time in the desert over the past year. The desert's never really been a big thing for me in my life, but the more time I spend in it, the more I'm like,
yeah,
I love it. But that whole area is just absolutely beautiful, and it was just, I just needed it so much. Like, I came back yesterday and it felt like $1,000,000, and my energy was through the roof. I'm sure I was annoying everybody in the house because I was like happy and dancing. And
oh wow, that's a good thing though.
yeah.
I mean, everybody looked like they were having a good time too from the photos that you.
Yeah, it was great because it's off season here. We don't really have the tourists yet, and we really did, like, there was a couple people that were there with us, but we really almost had it to ourselves the whole time. Like, every time we were in the hot springs, there might be somebody else in one of the other pools for about 5 minutes, but then it was just like, it was almost like our own little retreat, like our own little campground
just for y'all.
Yeah. And then we walked around the desert and explored some old abandoned homesteads, and just looked at rocks. a lot of search for rocks a lot. Yeah. Looked at tracks. It was just nice and relaxing.
Was it very active?
No. It was, but honestly, I spent so much time with the family, and that I didn't really disconnect. I was really in tune with them and spending time with them. And we've got a new travel trailer, And so we kind of spent a lot of time like messing around with it and learning things on it. And the first day it was so windy, and the rain was kind of coming in and out. It was snowing a little bit, so we stayed inside a lot because that wind was about 50 miles an hour. And so, but
Wow.
I went out a little bit, what was it, Tuesday night, and just stared at the stars. The stars were
Oh,
amazing.
awesome.
Yeah, because when you go out there in the desert, you can see everything. And so I used my little star app and looked at. I have this like app on my phone that you just
Yep.
find. So I was like looking for the Pleiades, and I found
Mm-hmm.
and I was just Andromeda, and I was looking for everything. But Sirius, I don't know if you've noticed how bright Sirius is right now. It is so bright.
That's the dog star. And
Yeah.
that's one of the things that Sanat talks about too.
Oh yeah.
Time of the dog star. And he called it, I think, the Christ star, that we know it as the dog star, because that shines that Christ light over us. And so that's kind of what I think of when Sirius is really bright, is that Christ love and light that's just being radiated down to the earth, and
Right.
on all of us. And it's so hard for so many people to connect with the stars because they don't live where they can really see the stars. They have to leave their home, and to be able to do that. And that's one thing here. I can get out over at the side of the house away from the outside light, and the sky is just huge, and there's so much going on up there too,
Right.
that you just wander around and look, and that's healing too. And I know that it touched your heart to be able to look up at the stars and to see that. That's pretty cool. I'm glad you guys got to go. Dale said healing is amazing in the wilderness. You see a lot of memes and things now on Facebook that talk about if you go to the woods, that's where your healing is, that's where you find yourself. And it's the truth, that's the simple truth. There's healing there. So I would say to anybody who's kind of having a hard time right now, go to the woods. If you can't go off into the woods, go to a park. Go lean up against the tree. Go look at some flowers and sit down and have a conversation with all of that around us. That's very healing. And I take a lot of pictures, and I talk to everything. If I've taken a picture of something, you can just about bet I've been talking to it. So
Yeah, and that's what I do. Like that's really my thing, is to just go into the woods and talk to the woods. That's always been my thing. Even before I knew about well, I mean, I guess I've known about Sasquatch since I was a child, but before I like knew that they were always there, I would just talk to the woods, and that's always been my release. But yeah, and the desert's a little different. But I mean, I guess you can talk to the sagebrush and, and everything the same way you talk to
no,
trees. Yeah, yeah,
the desert is, and the high desert for sure, is just so alive.
yeah.
And for me, a southeastern Oklahoma girl with trees and everything else around her that I love, there is something really special about the desert and being in the desert, and so much beauty there and so much life that's just going on all around you. It's just amazing.
Yeah, it's totally different than what we spend most of our time up in the high Cascades. So we and Ochocos and stuff like that. So we get real high elevation, dark fir trees and, you know, very
Yeah.
little light. And that's where my heart is really, though. When I go to those places, that's where I feel my most healing. But something about the desert, it's been pulling me to it more and more lately. And it's just the openness and the sun. And we went to the Alvord Desert here in Oregon, and it's this giant playa. And I mean, it's like, as far as you can see, it's just flat old lake bed that's dried up. And we were there in September, and if you went outside, I don't know, anytime after midnight and just looked up at the sky, you could see the Milky Way. You know, it was just stretched horizon to horizon. And it was just the two people we were with on that trip had never seen the Milky Way before.
Oh my goodness.
And we've seen it in Canada a lot at the cabin, but you know, up there in the trees, you only can see, you know, the little window that the trees let you see.
Right.
But when you go out in the open, it's like,
right.
it's amazing. And my family was with me. We were at the fire one night, and we let the fire die down so the light would go away, and then we could see the sky more. And that was the first time they saw the Pleiades. And they were like, what are those? What's that like? There's like a whole bunch of stars over there, like clustered together. And I was like, that's the Pleiades. Like, that's my area. That's where I like to.
That's pretty cool. Well, you know, here where I'm at now, the cabin is like that. You know, there are trees all around it up close, and it's hard to see. But up here at the house, you know, I've got the pastures and things like that. And so you can see a lot, you know, when you come up here out of the trees. So it's pretty cool laying out there. And, you know, I've seen a lot of things here, laying in my tent or just laying outside looking up at the stars. And the Milky Way. Oh my gosh, you know.
Yeah, right.
And for so many people, that's like, up there is where we see our relatives. And for many tribal nations, they talk about that, and Cherokee too, that those are our relatives up there. When we look up there, we see our ancestors, and that, you know, they're up there and they're with us too. So it's like a connection of going out and looking up at family. And I like that a lot.
Yeah. On many levels too, not just like our Star Nation family. Yeah. There was a bunch of, not this time. Honestly, it was so cold. It got down to about 20 degrees each night when we were there. So I would go outside and stare up at the sky as long as I could. And then once the wind would blow, it would it would take all the fun right out of it, and I'd have to go back in the camper. But yeah, it's but like last year when we went out, we saw there's so many shooting stars last year, especially last summer. We went to ECETI Ranch, and when you sit out in the middle of the field there, same thing you can see. And there's some trees on either side of the field, but you can see huge amount of the sky. And there was so many shooting stars last year when we were there. And you know, we see those in Canada too. But when you get out in those open spaces, or just get away from all the light pollution you can see up there, and it's like, it just humbles you.
It does. It really does. That's for sure. So,
how many UFOs did you see at ECETI Ranch?
Oh, you got a visitor. Hold on, I can't see you, Ginger. I can only hear you.
Oh, I've got the video off.
Oh, well, come on, girl. Let's see your face.
I mean, hey,
I'm familiar with this.
Yeah.
If I have to do my eye shine, you
come on.
Eye shine, there's an idea.
Yeah, see, honestly, every time we've been to ECETI, we've seen UFOs. But they're not like what people think of as UFOs. They're not like metal discs, saucers flying through the air. They're lights mostly. But is that what you saw when you were there, Ginger? Or yeah,
when Susan and I we couldn't find the ECETI Ranch, but it was like midnight, so I don't even know if they would have let us in or not. But we parked on the side road real close to ECETI Ranch, and We sat there for like 20 minutes, and then we saw it looked like something come out of the side of the mountain,
Hmm.
and it was a ball of white light, like you were talking about, you know.
Hmm.
And then we saw it went straight horizontal, and then it just stopped and went straight down vertical and landed on another part of the mountain.
Hmm.
And we're like, okay, yeah, planes don't do that. And
Right.
and then
Yeah.
the light started rotating on it while it was sitting on the ledge of the mountain,
Hmm.
and we kept watching the lights rotate and rotate around it. And it was like cool because we started to drive away. I started to drive,
Yeah.
and we both like saw through the corner of our eye the UFO move off the mountain. And Susan goes, "Did you see that?" And I went, "Yes." And I started backing up as you go back.
Yeah. Yeah, it's such a cool place. And it's not just a SETI ranch, it's just Mount Adams in general. It's
Yeah.
just such an interesting, you just get a really good view of it from a SETI. But
Yeah.
SETI's just got a cool vibe to it. It's just so chill, and everybody there is super nice, and just very understanding and open, and there's been a lot of Sasquatch activity there lately, and it's kind
Oh,
of,
cool.
yeah. So when we were there, every time we've been there, we've seen something. Either it comes from the mountain, goes into the mountain, it's around the mountain. One night we saw what looked like a party in the woods just at the base of the mountain. I mean, there was blue lights, red lights, and they were like white lights, and they were just shining up everything. And then something would shoot up, and then it would disappear and pop up over here. But the first time we ever stayed there, I saw eye shine there. And
Oh, really?
yeah, that's the first time I've seen eye shine on the West Coast.
And was it just out in the field?
No, if you're on the field and you're looking at the mountain, to the
Mhm.
left, there's another property over there, and
Okay.
there's another field, and there's like a strip of trees that are kind of over there on that property, and they were in those trees, and there's a fence
Okay.
that separates
Okay.
the two, and they were over there, and it was about 1 a.m, and everybody else had gone in. I was kind of sitting out there by myself, and I looked over and I saw blue eyes and red eyes and moving in the trees. And I was like, that's eye shine. So I ran over to the fence, and I was like trying to talk him to come over closer. And all of a sudden this white orb like flew right behind my head, and there was a cedar or some kind of tree right next to me, and it flew by my head and then went around the tree and then buzzed me again. And it was like this bright white orb. And I was like, it kind of spooked me at
cool.
first because it was so fast, the way that it moved.
How close
And
did it get to you?
I mean, it buzzed my head. It
Oh,
was
how big was it?
maybe this big.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. How really cool.
And it was so cool. And so I went back, sat in my chair, and then I went to sleep in the tent about an hour later because it kind of calmed down after that. And then we were sitting in the hold on one second. Hey, can you close the door, please? Thank you. We were in our tent that night, and it was getting close to sunup. It's probably like 5. There she is. And right next to my tent, I heard moo. And I was like, all right, you got me. And then they started howling in the trees around us. And
Yeah.
yeah, so they're there. They like to come onto the property. A lot of people have seen them on there. They walk right through the middle of the field. They'll cloak in and out and like kind of show people that they can do that. Last year they ran through our camp in the middle of the night when we were there.
Very cool. I love it.
Yeah, they there's a road. Did you guys drive down the road towards the camp? Well, on that road there's like a guardrail, and they were by the guardrail banging it with sticks to kind of, I think, wake us up. And and I woke up, and then one ran through our camp like that really long stride, like that, right through the camp. And yeah, it's a cool place, man. I think everyone needs to go there at least once and just.
Yeah, that would be fun. I'll have to put that on my bucket list of things to do.
Yeah, we it's such a relaxing place that my oldest son, he has when he gets around the Sasquatch, sometimes he gets real nervous because he picks up on their energy a lot. And from our old house, the things that used to happen in Georgia, he still gets a little nervous. So when we go to ECETI, we usually work through his nerves there because it's such a chill place. It's like a safe place. So we go back in the one corner where the Sasquatch are usually at, and we stand there and just get him to like control himself and calm his nerves, and then we talk through it, and then usually about an hour or so, then he'll start to get a little nervous again. We'll have to go back to the tent, but so next time you guys are here, we'll go up there.
Definitely. I told Paul I want to go to Oregon and visit you. So that's a good idea. We'll go to ECETI Ranch while we're there. We could all go.
Yeah, definitely. It's only about 4 hours from my house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That would be fun. Make some good memories.
Yeah.
It's been storming here bad tonight.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's right.
Thunder, lightning. Like an hour north of us, it got tornado touchdown and some hail. But we've been lucky. Yeah, with just some rain and thunder and lightning here. Hey, Terry.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Looks like we've got Terry and Tammy. Are you still there, Strickland?
Yeah,
you hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you great.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey.
How are you, man?
Good, doing good.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
What's up with you?
How are you?
I'm good. Why do I have eye shine? You're
Showing
the
off.
technological guy.
So I haven't seen you since the conference.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a day or two, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Life has been crazy.
Yeah. Getting better though?
Can't complain.
Yeah.
I'm still here, hadn't been sick, still healthy.
That's good.
That's awesome.
Have you
I
ever
think I dreamed about you being here the other night.
Oh,
It's
me?
like I'm getting deja vu of it. Yes.
Was it a dream or a nightmare?
It was just a dream. Yeah, just a dream. Yeah.
have you been able to get out any, Terry? You were going to where's that place in North Carolina you were going to a bunch? Can't remember the name of that place.
I'm getting a delay from somebody. I'm not sure who's talking.
Oh, that's me. You were going to a place in North Carolina. weren't you?
Uwharrie?
Yeah,
Uwharrie?
Uwharrie, that's right.
Yeah.
That's
You
right.
are, yeah. Yeah, I truly have not since COVID hit. Our business has kind of changed a little bit. We were struggling, I'll be honest. Just one of those things. We just kind of had to reinvent ourselves. I spent about the first building an online website, shopping cart website for us. Did some other projects, actually kind of did a sideline job setting up a local church with some PTZ optic streaming cameras. And I'm actually helping them do live streaming right now. So it's been crazy. I did get out in the Uwharrie probably, I don't know, about 4 or 5 months ago. Sad part is so did everybody else because with COVID, people discovered the woods.
Yeah.
And so I just ended up going out and sitting in the woods and being quiet and enjoying myself. Met one of our guys up there that goes out with us sometimes, and no self-respecting Squatch would have been anywhere within 100 miles of this place with all the people that were there. So it was just a good time seeing friends and hanging out. You know, any time in the woods is good.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
You're right about that because all my woods got crowded too. I'm like, what the heck?
It was nuts. There was actually a group. You could tell the people who had never camped before, and truly, it was great because they were looking for a way to get out in the woods with their kids and just do something to break the monotony of being locked down in their houses. But I mean, they had one group that did a soccer marathon in the little loop road at the campground till about 10:30 at night. We met some other folks up there that were sort of Bigfooters, I guess is the easiest way to explain it. They're very nice people, but they had actually seen me from our YouTube channel that David and I have, and realized who I was, and was like, oh no, please, no. I'm just here hanging out, guys. I'm just here hanging out.
Yeah.
I'm nobody. Trust me, I'm nobody.
Oh, come on.
You are too. I mean, we've been at the same camp out several times, and you had some cool stuff happen too.
Yep.
At the one campsite that one year when we changed the place, you had something happen at that camp.
Oh yeah, I'll remember that forever. I still want to go back down there and see who that was and if they're still around. When I got poked in the shoulder, that was, I will never forget that.
Tell us about
my only
it.
regret is my brain wasn't working fast enough to think to open the door and look out. But I don't know if I was ready to do it at that point.
Yeah, your brain might have been just where it needed to be at that
things
point.
Tend to work out. We did have one of the guys that I hang out with in our group. He's a new fellow. He's a good guy, but he's kind of upset that he hasn't had anything happen to him yet. And I keep telling him, just hang on. They'll find you. Don't worry about it. Just go in the woods, have a good time.
Yeah.
If they want to, they'll find you. If not, don't sweat it. He finally had something happen to him. He got gifted the night that I was up there. I've been telling him, he's been putting out apples and things like that. And I said, yeah, you can do that, but there's other stuff in the woods that eats apples too. Why don't you try this? Instead of food, put out some shiny rocks or a little small toy or something that animals would have absolutely no interest in. Take a picture of it, of how you laid it out, and leave it. And come back in a week or so and see if it's different. See if anything's been added. See if there's anything different. Well, he tried that, and he lives close enough that he can go to the Uwharrie area that we go in. He can drive down in 20 minutes and anytime he wants. And so he went back about a week later, and lo and behold, his offering gift was still there, but it had been added to.
Oh, wow.
And so he was all excited about that. I said, okay, that's a start. Don't, just again, they know you're here. Go back, just keep going to the same place. Be interesting. He is one of the top fiddle players in North Carolina. I mean, this guy, when Reba McEntire or Charlie Daniels or somebody wants to jam and they're in North Carolina, they call this guy.
Oh, wow.
I said, take your fiddle.
Cool.
Take your fiddle and just play some nice quiet stuff while you're sitting out in the woods. There's nobody there.
Yeah.
Just enjoy.
Totally. Absolutely.
And he's still a little shy about doing that. But the night that we were there, after this gifting had happened to him before, he did it again, and he had a chair that he was sitting in all the time that we were up there. We went in our tents and went to sleep. Didn't hear anything. I mean, I was out like a light. He came back out the next morning, and under his chair was what looked like a bouquet of fern branches that had been wrapped with a vine right underneath his chair.
That's so cool.
Said, okay, pal, you're on your way.
That is cool. Yeah.
That's awesome. So cool.
Yeah.
That took hands. That wasn't a possum. We have a joke, since he's a musician, about George Jones, being
the possum.
nickname was the possum. So we always joke about when he put apples out. It's like, well, did George get the apples or what? And I said, this was not George Jones that did this. This took hands.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
So he's all excited now.
Yeah, that's so cool.
And it's just those things that just change our world, change how we think, change how we do things, change how we see ourselves. That to us, it's a simple thing, but it is monumental when those types of things, I mean, the next day that you got up when you had been poked, it was it's like, oh wow, and you will remember it, and you get that same feeling again.
Yeah.
That, oh wow, I know that feeling. And that keeps you looking up and striving to do things where your relationship with them is taken to another level, and that caring that came about by that just gets multiplied. And it's just the coolest thing. I mean, for me,
Yeah.
I've had this for more years than I want to talk about, but it doesn't make any difference. A little thing, the glyphs and stuff, and they left a little flower looking, they made a flower and left it on the steps. And I'm like, I see it and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
It never gets old. It never gets old.
Well, I mean, and again, the very first time I went out to do this, what I call my first official Bigfoot outing with David Pardue and Dave Moser, we had rocks thrown at us. I mean, the very first time. And I'm sitting there going, wait a minute, what else in the woods throws rocks besides us? And there ain't nobody around where we are. We looked.
Yeah.
It's that you just don't forget it.
Do you want to tell? Can you tell us your story about the finger poking?
What's that?
You want to tell your story about the poke?
The poke?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Sure. I don't know if sure. Well, it was dark. Arla and I had been out walking around. Back just kind of. It was light. We were back just kind of looking around the area where we were camped. I think we may have been picking up trash. I don't remember. But there was a big fallen tree that had been there for some time. And it was kind of a natural barrier. And then you just got woods. I mean, like woods, a wall of woods of big old growth trees and just stuff. And I remember looking at that thinking, if I was a Squatch, that'd be a good place to sit and look because I can't see you. Didn't think anything else of it. We went on back and it got dark, and it's the kind of dark you only get in the woods in the middle of Georgia. I don't even remember if there was a moon, but it was dark. And I think Arla may have said, well, let's go for a walk, or I'm going to go for a walk or something. And I've been around Arla long enough to realize that when Arla says, I'm going to go for a walk, something's up. So I said, well, can I go with you? And she said, sure. So we walked back, straight back to that area where the fallen log was. And you could feel something there, but I couldn't see anything. And Arla said, they're here. There's a big one and there's a little one, and they're behind the tree. And so she starts talking to them. Now I can't see anything. And I'm thinking, okay, well, I know Arla, and Arla says she sees something. She sees something. So I'm sitting there and I'm just thinking, what do I do? What do I say? And so I leaned over to Arla, and I think I said something like, Arla, I can't see them like you are. I feel something's there, but I can't see them. And I think Arla said something to the effect of, oh, well, you're not supposed to right now. I don't remember the exact words, but I'm thinking, okay. So I said, well, can I talk to him? And she said, sure. So I just figured, well, I can't see him. I may be talking to the dark, but hey, So I just said, hey guys, my name's Terry. I mean no harm to you or your family or anybody. I'm I'm just curious to learn about you and who you are and how you live, and just wanted to say hi. So, that's just hi. And so at that point, we were kind of standing there, and Arla was talking to him a little more. She was talking to the little one, and aren't you sweet? You're so cute. Be careful. And then sometime later, she said, "Okay, they're leaving," and it was kind of like I could feel something left, and I don't know how to explain it. It's just like when you're in a dark room and somebody's in the room with you, and then when they walk out, you still can't see them, but you don't feel them there anymore.
It's just the energy. The energy changes.
Yeah, and that's
how it feels. Yeah.
Yeah. So we walked back to the tent, to the camping area, and we were all kind of spread out over this camping area. I think there was one more person. I think Peck was further back than I was, but he was off to the side. And so truly there was nothing between my tent and where we had just come from. So I crawled into bed. It was late and everybody was kind of going to sleep and the fire was dying down. So I got into bed, got in my sleeping bag, and when I'm out like that, I always carry a little digital recorder with me. And I hang it up in the tent and turn it on, and usually it just gets me snoring. But this night, I forgot to turn it on. Now, don't know, but I forgot to turn it on. So I'm climbing in my sleeping bag thinking, oh, that's kind of interesting. That was okay. That was fun. I'm going to hunker down here and kind of chill out and relax and go to sleep. And I promise you, I was still wide awake. There's none of this, oh, this was a dream, or I'm not sure if it was real or not. I was as wide awake as I am right now talking to you guys. And I hear coming up behind my tent, flump, 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 flump. It was like Andre the Giant had strapped cinder blocks onto his legs and was stomping. And I'm laying there in my tent going, oh my gosh, what is this? What is this? And I'm thinking, all right, well, there's the Sasquatch standing right outside my tent. And what am I going to do? I'm in this tent. I got nothing. There's nothing I can do. If he wants me, he can scoop me up like a Terry burrito and just carry me off over his shoulder. So, I'm freaking out. What do I do? What do I do? And I hear a sigh. That's the only way I can explain it. I hear like a at that point, and it's like, what am I going to do with this one? And so I'm laying there like, oh dear, oh, okay. And all of a sudden, I feel through the tent wall a finger. I could feel the nail on the finger. It felt like it was about this big. And I feel it go boop right into my shoulder. So at this point now, I'm like, there's a Bigfoot poking me in the shoulder. He is right outside my tent. He is poking me in the shoulder. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. And all of a sudden it dawned on me, Terry, he's not hurting you. He's not threatening you. He's not some crazed monster trying to rip into your tent, because this is a piece of taffeta. He could, if he wanted to come into this, he could tear through this like nothing. He's not bothering you. He's poking you in the shoulder. He's saying hello. Mm-hmm. And at that point it was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. This is so cool. I went from being freaked out to this is so cool. Mm-hmm. I'm getting poked in the shoulder. This is so cool. He's poking you in the shoulder. And hello. At that point, I feel the finger go, oh my gosh, this is so cool. Back out. So cool. I never heard him leave. I never heard anything. He was just gone. I went to sleep. That's the best sleep I've had in a long, long time. And I think the next morning when I got up, I was probably dancing and jumping around, or I think I went over to Arla and told her what had happened. And I think I was like, Arla, you're never going to guess. You're never going to guess. I got poked in the shoulder. Arla. I went out just because this is kind of my thinking, I went out and tried to stomp around and make the same kind of sounds that I heard, just to see if I could do it, jumping up and down. There were no tracks. We were in hard packed dirt with pine needles on top of it, so there was nothing there. There is no way that I could make the same noise that I heard, the same heavy footsteps that I heard. So I got nothing. One of two things happened: either I'm crazy or I got poked in the shoulder by a Bigfoot. And
You got poked in the shoulder by a Bigfoot.
Yeah.
so if from that day on, I have wanted to go back to that spot.
Yeah.
I have no clue that anybody would be there. I don't know if that's an area where they roam through or if they live there. It was a great spot. It was beautiful. There was water. There was obviously food sources. So I've just always wanted to go back and just kind of sit and see if anybody shows up.
Well, we
Yeah.
need to do that.
Yeah.
You know, we need to do that sometime when we can
Yeah,
all
I would love it.
start going again, because that was a beautiful place.
Oh my
It was
gosh.
Bear something. I
I
can't remember.
remember Paul and I go there sometimes now. We went there
Mhm.
last time we were in the mountains and
Yeah.
just went for like a couple hours and we drummed there at night by a fire. And sure
Yeah.
enough, I heard them go chunk, 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 come running back. They ran behind Paul. And I said, Paul, a Bigfoot. And before I could finish getting out the sentence, we hear like this gunshot, right in the trees.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, hi.
Yeah, I think the only thing after that happened is the next day we went from being the only people at this place to being inundated with a Cub Scout troop that showed
Yeah.
up that next morning.
Oh, yes.
And that is the Bigfoot we're
At
running.
that point,
all
it was kind of like, okay, well, we're just hanging out in the woods having fun now.
Yeah. They were running all around the tents before the Boy Scouts got there. They were.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, Tom.
Hey,
Good
Tom.
evening. Good evening. How's everybody this evening?
Good. How are you?
Doing
Great.
well. Good to see you.
Gary, I just love that story. That's so cool. We've had some great times in Georgia.
We
Oh, yeah.
have.
Remember the night that one came to our fire to visit with us. Two came to our fire to visit with us.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've got a question, something that needs to be discussed because I'm having some trouble here with it. It's got a couple of different ramifications. I've been invited to appear as a guest of honor, Bob and I, at a gathering in northeastern corner of Washington in June. This place is so far northeast that you could throw a stone into Idaho or throw a stone into Canada. Okay. It's right there. The town is putting this gathering on. They've had come on some tough times. They've lost their two major employers. It's only a town of like 300 people.
Everybody, we're not going to make the link public right now because we have some fans that just love us so much they had to come on the show.
Yes. And multiplied too,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right quickly.
Yeah. And the weird thing was some of the names on there are people that I think are in the group.
Yeah.
Like that's the weird thing. It was like I don't know if they
You can hack a Zoom ID. That's the sad part is if people would only use their superpowers for good, think how much
Right.
better off we'd be.
Yeah. I mean, I did stupid stuff when I was a kid too, so congratulations guys, you did it. But so the end of your story, I think it was right around the time that it got, well, Tom was talking too, but
Yeah. Tom came on.
so you're when you woke up that morning, or did you fall right asleep? I missed the ending of your story. When after he touched you, did you fall asleep?
After I got poked, no, it went from complete icy fear and panic. Your brain is running 100 miles an hour. Like, what am I going to do? What's he going to do? You know, where do I go? What do I yell? Do I not yell? Do I try and cry? What?
Right.
To almost instantaneously, oh, this is so cool. He's not hurting me. He's not threatening me. He's just messing with me. He's saying, hello, this is so cool. I'm getting poked in the shoulder. This is so cool. Mm-hmm. And then I laid there for a little while, kind of letting that wear off. Cause I was stoked, man. I was just like, you know, just spinning. And like, that's what I said, I hate that my brain was running so fast that I didn't stop at that point and just open the door and look out. But again, I don't know if I would have been ready at that point to see anything. Right. So it happened the way it was supposed to happen. Mm-hmm. And then at that point, I just settled down and went to sleep and just like dropped off to sleep. Woke up the next morning, I felt great. I mean, it was amazing. But that one changed my life. And how do you explain that to somebody? My wife loves me. I love my wife. She believes that I believe, but she hasn't really had anything happen yet that is really a defining moment for her. We did get growled at up in the Uwharrie. We were sitting out behind our tent one night. We were just sitting up there watching the blue ghost fireflies come down the path that we were at.
Yeah, right.
And Bunny was with us. Bunny had taken off into the woods, and Bunny has been known in her farm dog days to chase deer. So she came running back up the hill and went straight to the tent door and sat down, which means I want in. And so we let her in, and she stayed in the tent the whole rest of the night. So it was kind of like, well, that's kind of odd, but okay. So Tammy and I were sitting behind our tent. This one campsite, it's the, where were we? We were at the site number 11 or so, where the Zagnut Bar filming happened. Oh, okay. Years and years ago.
Yeah.
And if you sit there, you can look. You're kind of up on a high spot, and you can look down a path that goes down to a holler with a creek in it. And you can't see down in it. But I just figured, well, let's just sit here, because this would be a good spot. If something wants to see us, this is a good spot, because they got cover, and they can just look around, and we won't bother them, won't see them. We'll just sit here and chat. And we were talking, and all of a sudden we hear this really deep guttural growl, like, and I looked at Tammy and I said, "Did you hear that?" And she said, "Yes, I did." I said, "Okay, what was that?" And she said, "I don't know." And I said, "Okay, Bunny's in the tent, right?" She said, "Yeah." And I said, "Okay, what was that?" But we have since come to find that there is a thriving population of cougars in Uwharrie. Oh, nice. My buddy David Pardue saw a full-grown one run across the road in broad daylight as he was driving down the road. It was a car ahead of him, and he said there was absolutely no mistaking it. This is a mountain lion, big, huge. He said from nose to tail, it ran across the road in front of another car, and he said I could see the head and the tip of the tail on both sides of the car. Mm-hmm. So I'm guessing that was probably a mountain lion at that point. Would have been more fun for it to be something else, but in reality, that was probably a mountain lion. It's probably what Bunny sensed down in the woods, and why she came back up and wanted to stay in the tent. Right. So, sometimes reality just messes things up, but that was
you
reality.
Don't know. You don't know for sure.
We don't know. We didn't yep. see anything.
It's one of those questions that you have. Was it or wasn't it? And you don't know.
Right. I can't say for sure because I didn't
No.
see it. I will say it did sound like a low guttural growl, like I have heard tigers make in zoos. And I came home and did some researching online. There's a database that's got all kind of animal sounds in it, and it could have been. So I can't say definitively it was or it wasn't.
Yeah.
All I can say is it could have been.
Yeah, and of course you didn't have your recorder on.
No, again, we were just, it's like, come on.
I've been there so many times, and
Yeah.
they turn them off too. I mean,
Yeah.
they turn them off. I've had them make mine run backwards, which was really weird.
Oh,
But just they do as they choose. So you've got one of those. Well, I really don't know.
yeah. Did I tell you, have I told you guys the story of when I was we were at Yates' place in the Uwharrie. There's a meadow there that's just really unusual. And David Pardue and Julie Wrench and I and a couple other people that were up from Georgia or from Alabama were there. Have I told you that story yet? There's actually on our Carolina Cryptid Field Research YouTube channel, there's an interview that I shot interviewing when Julie Wrench with Monster X was interviewing David and Don Tart, talking about the stuff that happened there. And we went out. Now, I checked my camera when I was at base camp, and everything worked. Mics were working, batteries were great. They all had night vision, they had recorders, everybody was checking their gear, everything worked. We walk about 1.5 miles or 2 miles down this Forestry Service road, and then you turn across a little cut through that goes to this meadow. And the meadow opens out into this, it's a beautiful meadow. It opens out into this really expansive area. People have reported seeing orbs there. They have reported hearing all kinds of stuff. Bigfoot activity. Now, keeping in mind, there are other people there because the Uwharrie is known for being a Bigfoot hotspot. So there are more than likely other people there doing the same thing we're doing. But we walked into the meadow, and I got everybody set up. Now I'm filming. My camera's got night vision on it. It's a Sony model. It's got night vision, so I'm seeing. I can see at night with this thing. So I'm sitting there. I got everybody set up. I got them mic'd up. We're all good. I turn the camera on, and it immediately shuts off. And I'm thinking, I've never seen it do this before. Okay, turn it on again, and it shuts off, and I can't reboot it. And I looked at the guys, looked at all three of them in front of me, and said, "Folks, let me tell you what just happened." So I'm fiddling with the camera. I pull the batteries out. I finally get it to work, and so we start filming. And if you watch the interview, you'll see Don and David kind of glancing off to the side like this from time to time. We were hearing something. There was a kind of a wooded area with a lot of cover over to one side of us. We were standing right next to the tree line, and we were in the clear, but we kept hearing something. And I've got my headphones on. I'm listening to their audio, so I don't hear a whole lot of this. But they kept hearing something off to the side. So you see them kind of look over from time to time. And David pulled his night vision out, and it went off. Now, he's checked this thing over at base camp 3 times. Turned it on, shut right back down. Turned it on again, shut right back down. So it's like, okay, well, let's just keep going with the interview so we'll have something. So we got finished with it, and we, again, you keep hearing something. You think we didn't see anything, and I'm not panning the camera around because I'm thinking, well, if there's somebody over there, I'm not going to bother them. They're just there watching us. So we finished up. We got all our gear together, and we went out in a line down this little cut-through path. Julie was in front of me, I was in the middle, and David was behind. And all of a sudden, we hear coming through the trees, flap, 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 thump. And a rock lands right behind David. And he just looked up and said, "Rock." And Julie had never had anything like this before. This was before she started having stuff happening at her house. So she looked around at me and said, "What do you mean rock?" And I'm thinking, "Oh yeah, I know that feeling. Okay." So I said, "Don't panic, just keep going." Well, a couple of seconds later, another rock comes, flop, 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 plump, and lands right in front of Julie. And so she's starting to get a little freaked out. And I said, "No, listen, if they wanted to hit us, they could bean us anytime they want to. They're not. They're just messing with us. Let's just keep going." So we get out, and there were other people that had gone down there with us. They had gone on ahead of us out of the meadow because we were finishing up the interview. So we get out to where the little cut through intersects with the service road, and David said, "I'm going to try this one more time. Let me see if I can, if my camera, I'm going to turn my night vision on and just see if I see anything." He turned it on, worked perfectly. Go figure. Nothing had changed since we left the meadow. Mm-hmm. I mean, we got back, we checked our gear over, all of us, everything worked perfectly. So go figure. Just another one of those weirdnesses. But that meadow is really, it's an interesting place.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. That's cool. And yeah, I mean, they're very technologically advanced.
More than we give them credit for, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, and you hear those kinds of stories from people all over. I mean, you go out, everything's just zapped. You got no power, batteries, you're all set up, everything's ready, and boom. And that's like even here. I don't usually let anyone have night vision anywhere around here, but the one night that Stuart was here, and he had been looking through his night vision, when I started to take him to the woods, I told him, I said, "You can't take your night vision." And he was looking through it, and he looked at me and he said, "Well, I guess that's okay. It just quit working." So,
there you go.
So that's just how it is.
Yeah.
Well, I've gotten to the point now where I don't even film stuff anymore.
Yeah.
It just really, I do some stuff for our channel, just to kind of tell people what's going on, and hey, look, these are not bloodthirsty critters that are coming to eat your face off. If they're mad, what have you done to make them mad? But as far as trying to film them anymore, the new guy that I was telling you about, Matt, that got gifted this last time, he's all into it now. He's putting up trail cams. He's putting up microphones that are hidden, and I'm like, dude, you're just running them off. Trust me.
Yeah.
They're gonna turn them off if they don't want to mess with it. They'll just turn them off. You're wasting your time. Just sit. Play your fiddle, be interesting.
Yeah.
I called trail cams the best Sasquatch repellent ever made.
And they are.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got a message the other day. It was about a trailer for this film that's been made. And this film started, and it's one of the people involved with that gathering that I started talking about before, the one who invited me, actually. And here's these dudes in the woods in the middle of the night with AR-15s, lights flashed to them, going through the woods, scared to death. What do? I don't, I want to distance myself from that garbage so far that they'd have to, burn the stump and shift the ashes to try to find me. But there's, as I said, I feel I owe the town something for doing this. Plus, it also gives you a chance to talk and to refute those people, those type of people. So what do you do? That's my question. I'd like to open a discussion on that.
It's a good question.
Yeah.
My first instinct, and I'm talking and walking at the same time, and that gets me in trouble sometimes. If you can squelch the disinformation, that might be a good thing. But people have to be willing to listen, and
That's always true.
that's one of the,
I wouldn't even start with the people who made the film. I mean,
yeah.
you know, but there's a lot of other people that will be there that are going to have questions, and those are the people that have me saying that I should go there anyway.
Yeah.
You know, although I did that in Kennewick at Russell Acord's gathering, and when it came question and answer time, he wouldn't even hand me the microphone to answer the questions that were addressed to me. So,
Well, some people you can't confuse them with the truth.
oh yeah, that's Cliff Bergman happened to be there at that too.
How did he react?
Oh, Cliff is 100%. They're apes, and they're nothing but apes, and you know, and he worked very hard after my talk. I was invited on the stipulation that I could not mention anything that was paranormal about it.
Mm.
Well, you know how well that works with me.
I got another one, Tom. I'm not getting away from your
That's
question because I do want to stay on that. You're talking about paranormal. I don't think I've told you guys this. I had some stuff. David Pardue and I were in Alabama with another group. We saw a portal open. We got done film.
Oh, nice.
Oh, really?
I was one of these folks that, okay, yeah, maybe portals, maybe not. I don't know. You know, I've never seen one. I don't know. Had I not seen that myself, you know, I'd still be thinking, nah, no such thing. It took me 4 days to figure out how to even tell my wife what we saw. And again, like I said before, she believes I believe, but she's not going to say no. But but yeah, the paranormal stuff.
Barb Shoup, 2 years ago or a year ago, had a portal open inside her tent.
Ooh, interesting.
She's sitting in her tent, and all of a sudden she's looking at somebody's living room with a fireplace going, and while we were in camp.
Well, we came to find out the guys that we were with they're good guys. They go about things a little different. Some of them a lot of them are ex-military, or different. I mean, there's a couple of medics. There's a trauma nurse. There's, you know, these are intelligent people, but they go about this a little differently. They're a little more regimented in how they do things, but they document everything. Nobody goes out alone. You're always in teams of at least two. And there's this meadow in Alabama. There's actually a book that's been written about it, that I'm the Terry W. in this book. The names have been changed to protect the guilty, but it talks about all this stuff. And they had seen this before. They've had missing time. They've had all kinds of stuff going on there. They were using us as the control because David and I had never been there, and they knew that we were not into the paranormal side of things. So they invited us to come, we found out later, to come be the control element for this. And they had this happen before. They had 3 team members that we noticed were carrying huge backpacks, way bigger than for just a night walk in the meadow. And we kept looking at it like, what are these guys doing? Come to find out afterwards at the debrief, they had the intention of walking into the portal if it opened. But on this particular night, every time it opened several times and then it would close back up. Every single time they walked toward it, it would disappear and it would reappear somewhere else. And they would walk toward it and it would disappear again. So I'm sitting there watching this. I hear David's looking at it through his night vision, and I hear him, we're this beautiful open meadow, and I hear him say, "What's that square thing out there?" And it's not registering with me at this point. And he said it again, "What is that square thing?" And all of a sudden it dawned on me, there is no square thing in this meadow. What is he talking about? Let me get up and go see what's going on. I had no night vision at all. I was kind of the control for this group, just with my eyes. I could see nothing. And another woman that we were with had a more advanced thermal unit than he did. And of course, David didn't record. He forgot to put a chip in his recorder. So she recorded it, and we were watching it with her open and close, looking over her shoulder. I've never seen anything like it in my life, but I saw it. I saw what I saw. I can't unsee it.
You did. And you know that you're talking about they're prepared to go. We humans are so full of ourselves that we can just do something that we're truly not prepared to do. We think we are. And you're seeing so much now about time travel and all of these other things that people are watching. And I see this a lot with people. They're going to go out here where this portal is, and they're going to sit there and they're going to go through it, and they're going to, and people are going, well, what if you don't come back? So the thing is, you guys were allowed to see something. You all were safe. Nobody was getting in, no matter what they thought. So you got to visualize something that a lot of people are getting to see now. This is, a lot of people are calling this paranormal. It's becoming the norm now for people to see these things, like Barb seeing that in her tent. And we actually can open portals ourselves, but it's an intentional thing. Portals can open anywhere. I mean, there are some areas that the energy is more conducive, to doing that. I've seen elders do this, where you just look and you go, wow, there's a door right there. What the heck? So it's just another one of those things that the universe is trying to help us along. And, for whatever reason, you guys were safe out there.
Yeah. The lead guy in this other group has written a book, and he's actually got a scout that shot a teaser video that is kind of marketing it to Animal Planet, some other channels. They may make a series out of it. But in his book, he explains a portal really well. He said, think of yourself as an ant. You're in your anthill. You're happy doing your ant stuff. And I'm paraphrasing a little bit. And he says, you go to bed one night and everything's fine. And you wake up the next morning and humans have come in and built a road right beside your anthill. And you have no idea what this thing is. It was there. It wasn't there last night. It's there today. So what is this thing that is here that has appeared? And truthfully, it's not for you, for the ants. You have no concept. You have no framework to figure out what this is. It's not for you. It's not meant to harm you. It's not meant to do anything other than it's just there. And I thought that was really a good way to explain it.
And always has been there, actually. And that's the thing that's happening with people now, because so many are opening up to begin to try to understand these things, and they're having these experiences. And it's like, wow, when did this start? Well, it's always been going on.
Yeah.
You just didn't see it. And that's one of the things that Kashima had said a long time ago when I asked him a question about some things that were happening. And he said, they've always happened. People are just now opening up to see them.
Be
And
my
look
luck,
how much-
I'd open a portal and wouldn't have a road map.
I think
Tom.
you'd be fine. So, Tom, I want to address your question.
All
I
right.
already know what you want to do because I know you. In the past, I probably would have said, I don't want to have anything to do. I don't want to be in the same place these people are. But there are people there who need to hear this other side that's not being shared as much as it should. You've got people who like this scary, oh my gosh, this is, all this other stuff. And, I've got my gun and I can go out here and I can do this and I can do that. And they can't do anything. I mean, we know people who were part of groups who were actually snipers, who had been out looking for the Bigfoot people. And upon seeing them through their scope, stopped and realized, whoa, wait a minute. This is not.
Yeah, it's not an animal.
Yeah. Is not an animal. And people need to hear that, and I can't imagine them being able to censor you. Maybe if you are under their direction at that time, but you're going to talk to people and they're not going to be anywhere around you.
Yeah.
And so what you do is, and we talk about this all the time, you plant seeds. You take your bag of seeds and you take them and you plant them, and they may not grow immediately, but that seed's been planted, and that seed can counteract anything else that they've been told. But if people don't hear it, then they don't know it. And the one thing TV is not going to do, except for, Letters from the Big Man's the only thing that I've seen, that even gets close to, what really is. So yeah, there's got to be people that are willing to stand up and say, wait a minute, let me tell you my side. This is what I know. And this is about respect, and my thing is, you've got a gun out there, it's not going to stop anything, any interaction. I mean, Stuart's, a perfect example of that. He's got a gun in his pocket. It's you. It's who you are. That's what's going to stop it. But taking that gun out, which most of the time is just, trying to present themselves as something, to me, I can't even begin to get it into words, because for me, it is just the most heinous thing in the world to present that to people as the truth of what's going on. And right now, we've got to plant seeds, because we are right here in this time when we have such an awesome chance to open up things and for people to see things in the way that they need to see them.
And look how it's changed for us in the past 11 years, 12 years that we've been acquainted. I mean, at that point, we were so far out in the field.
Yeah.
You know,
Heck, you
And
guys
now-
you guys are midline now. You're the middle of the
I
road.
know.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
It was-
know. That's
It wasn't
pretty
that way
cool.
10 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, but yeah, and that's just my opinion. I mean, I don't see you not going. I don't see that in you unless your health kept you from going.
yeah,
That
but-
would, yeah.
Well, had a discussion with my psychologist today. I've about got him straightened out. But we were discussing this very thing, you know, and he raised some of the same exact same points you raised.
Yeah.
He says, plus the fact it'll get you out of that hellhole where you're living for a while.
Yeah. And that's, you know, I've not known you to back down. We never did. It wasn't something we did. We kept sharing what we knew from our experiences, the same as everyone can do. And yeah, I know you're going to do what you're supposed to do. I don't even doubt that. But
Jeff Meldrum's a prime example there. He and I have appeared on the same day as how many times?
yeah,
And we totally, we'll disagree with 60% of what one another says. You know, the difference is he's never seen one. You know,
Yeah.
until you can say you've had one hold your hand in theirs, you don't understand it. You know, it's a hard concept to get people to realize. Seeing one walking up the side of the mountain or crossing the road in front of your car, not going to tell you how they have their children.
Mm-mm.
Sitting by a creek in British Columbia, watching the birth will tell you.
yep,
You know, and then have some lady in Oklahoma's voice come into your ear. Cliff Barrickman said, self-talk is a combination of, telepathy is self-talk coupled with wishful thinking. I says, Cliff, let me tell you a story. Back in middle of the last century, when I lived in Chehalis, I had friends that lived in Tenino, a little town right off the Maima Mounds. Matter of fact, we had to level a couple of the mounds on his pasture so his cows could eat. And the road coming back, very straight. There's one little curve in the middle of it, but it's old Pacific Highway 99, concrete highway, just straight as a string for about 12 miles. I'm coming across that road, middle of the night. I'd left Gary's house about 10, 11 o'clock. Raining, oh my heavens, it was pouring out. All of a sudden, I see this set of headlights coming from behind me very rapidly. I'm doing 50 miles an hour in the rain. That's, all it was safe to do. They were doing at least 90 when they went by me. And I just pulled over off the side of the road, let them go by, then pulled back on the road, started to accelerate again. And that voice came and said, slow down, they're not going to make the curve. When I got to that curve, the last thing I wanted to do, this is right at the end of that straight stretch, the last curve, it aligned the road to cross I-5 right there. And the last thing I really wanted to do was go around that curve, because that truck that went by me was full of high school kids.
Oh.
There'd been a basketball game in Tenino that night, and they were headed back to the little town of Rochester. And big rivalry. I came around the curve limping around, and fortunately they just spun out and were in the infield on the on-ramp to the freeway and couldn't get out because it was raining so hard and it was wet. And I stopped, made sure everybody was all right, and they were shook up, but nobody had been hurt, nobody even got bumped. So I told them I'd stop at the grocery store and cross the highway and call a record for them, tow truck. which of course that was before the days of cell phones. So you had to do things like that. But I told him, I said, tell me how that was wishful thinking or self-talk, either one. Because the last thing I wanted to do was go around that curve. That kind of rules out wishful thinking.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I had no idea what was going to happen. So how in the world could it possibly be self-talk?
Yeah. You know, mind speak, I have never had it happen to me, but I have to remember I've only lived in this one head all of my life. So how can I say that it doesn't happen to someone else? I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or the situation has been such that it needed to happen.
Right.
You know, I've received those warnings like that many times in my life. The difference between that and my teacher, Red Stripe, talking to me, same sound, just different voice. Okay. It works exactly the same way, or seems to. Yeah, it's, but I think you're right, Arla. I think that's the course to go. I've never been afraid of taking on a fight in my life anyway, even if I am just slightly younger than Bob. But I know who'd have my back if it did come to a fight, since Bob would be there.
I wouldn't want to make that man mad. I don't care how old he is. I wouldn't want to make you mad either. I don't care how old you are.
He's a good guy. I've been so fortunate to be able to call him friend for this long. I really miss living over there because we used to get together for lunch twice a month. And we got to do it, I think, it was before the pass closed, so it had to be late October, early November. We did get together for lunch, but hopefully another couple of months pass will be open again. We can do it again.
So that the video that you saw of those two guys, are those the people that are putting the conference on?
One of them, the person who did the video, is the one who invited me. I don't know if he's actually putting the conference on, and went to the city of Medellin Falls to for support, or whether Medellin Falls went to him to organize it. I don't know which way it went there, but I don't think it makes a difference. I think back to that one in Kennewick that Russell Acord did, and everything that went on there, and I made some friends there that I still have. Young lady there, it's quite a story. Her name is Brandy. She lives in just outside of Calgary, Alberta. And I'm sitting at my table, and all of a sudden I hear my name screamed out, "Tom!" And I look up, and here this lady is running as hard as she can across the room, and just absolutely leaped into my lap and threw her arms around me. And what's this going on? She said, "You saved my life. You've saved my life. I can't thank you enough. You've saved my life." And about that time her husband showed up, which really ruined the mood, but he explained she had an encounter, and it scared the daylights out of her, and she was having trouble accepting it, adjusting to it. Then she read something in my book one of my books where the same thing happened to somebody, and it was all right then. And she said she thought she was losing her mind, having seen this. And that made me stop and think, if you're publishing things that has that kind of effect on people, you'd better be damn sure what you're saying is right. You know? That was an eye opener. But I met her at that conference. What's his name? Mitchell Townsend, met him there. that particular conference. So even though the conference was negative, the people I met were more than positive.
Yeah.
You know? And they didn't change my mind any.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree with Arla. I think that, you know, you're meant to go there. You need to go there. I remember the Georgia conference in 2013. Was it 2013 or 2014?
It was
2013.
2013.
2013. I remember that. Yeah. Yeah. I remember the first day we were there, when the conference started, there was like a younger guy and his girlfriend. And I can't remember who the first speaker was. It might have been Alex was talking about something. He was speaking about something, and they got up. The guy got up and just stormed out. He was just mad. You could tell that he was there. He was there to learn about how to kill some monsters, you know. And and when it just wasn't going the way that he wanted, he just stormed out and had his girlfriend, and they left. But I remember also, kind of behind me and was a older couple. It was like a man and a woman, and they were there, and I don't remember how it got brought up, but they were basically there looking for answers because they had a group, I guess, that was living behind their house. And they were there looking for answers, and there's not a doubt in my mind that that conference opened them up to so many other things than what they would have learned.
There was some very interesting things came out of that conference. First time I'd ever met Jim Vieira, and his presentation was just mind-boggling. I just love that. Yeah, I tell people I wish I had $1 for every time I've had a conversation with somebody that began with, "I've never told anybody this, but." Right. And all of a sudden they feel safe talking to you about it, because they won't you won't laugh at it. Yeah. That was quite the conference, sitting there in the cabin, looking out the window and watching the Sasquatch running back and forth.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And Alex Evans had to go out to her car and didn't want to go out alone. So I was, "I'll walk out with you." You know, I was really tough to have to walk outside, alone with Alex. And got out there, and here's 3 sets of eyes right across the road from the cabin. Look, you can see the shine. All 3 of them standing there watching us. And I told Alex, "Hey, look, no."
That was an awesome conference. I mean,
it was.
I met Sam there at that conference, and met other people as well. And that's the thing that happens with a conference. You go, you have speakers, you're going to learn some things, but you're going to meet people. You're going to meet people that you're just going to know who those people are. And even if you don't know it right at that moment, then you begin, to see that, wait a minute, there's a reason here. And for me, being on our podcast with Sam is like, I just come full circle again. I know Sam because of that, the Blog Talk show that I was on with Alex and the conference. So here I am again, trying to help in, helping people to get past their fear of life. So many things in life are feared. I hear people, Terry, talk about portals. Oh, don't get close to it. It'll suck you in, or, all kinds of stuff. And that fear holds us down and helps us to not truly receive what it is. And like you, Terry, at that moment of being, oh my gosh, I've been touched by Bigfoot poked me. And then, you know, it comes to you, wait a minute, I'm not being targeted here. I'm not being hurt, you know, and then everything changes for you.
Yeah. Terry alluded to this a time or two. They're talking about their rock throwing. My heavens, they feed themselves by hunting with rocks. You think if they didn't want to hit you and hurt you, they couldn't?
They could bean us like a Major League Baseball pitcher anytime they wanted to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've actually had one Native American person that I know around this area who is talking a little bit about some stuff, but she just said, if they ever hit you, they intend to kill you. That's how they hunt. So, you know, they're not going to hit you. They're just letting you know they're there. Maybe you got too close. Maybe something else is going on. You know, I fully believe that, you know, anybody can have a bad day, especially, you know, you're out in the woods, you're going home to miss the Sasquatch, and, you know, here's this crazy human in between you and your prime fishing spot, and you can't get supper for the kids. Somebody's going to be mad. But that's us. We're in their way. They didn't do that. We did. So we need to start looking at that kind of stuff.
I always tell people, does that mean that I've never been, you know, in a position where I felt like I needed to leave? You know, so what did I do? I left.
That is one of the prime, as one of the number one rules that we have in our Carolina Cryptid group. We don't take just anybody out. We got to kind of vet you before you go. But if anybody at any time says we need to leave, we leave. Yeah. No questions asked. Let's just go. If you feel like we don't need to be here, there's a reason for that. Let's go. We'll come back.
Yeah, there's things that can happen. You can get, you know, maybe there's kids there that they're worried about. And, you know, things happen. I mean, you're in their house.
Exactly.
And, yeah.
Or they're just like me, who I used to hide in the bushes and throw little pebbles at people when they walked by, and they couldn't see me because I was hiding in the bushes, and they'd turn around and look like, where'd that come from? You know, and me, I'm going, I'm in trouble. And a lot of rock throwing is pretty much just
juveniles having a ball.
And communication. Hey, you know, hey, look, you know, and I've watched Indigo many times throw a small rock and hit Watto exactly in the same place on her chest every time.
Yeah.
You know, so
you know, now that I sort of know what's going on with the rock throwing, it's kind of funny when it happens, because I get this vision of there's two kids out there going, okay, watch this. Watch the one on the right. Check this out. Let's see what he does.
If you've ever been with Brian in the woods when he and the children get in a rock throwing contest, did that happen when you were up there, Arla?
No, there wasn't any of that.
He'll get them going. You're sitting there throwing rocks at trees, and rap, and then he'll start throwing that. It's fun. One of the funniest things you never watch in your life. But yeah, Jeff Meldrum. There was the old what they call it, Monster Quest.
Yeah.
He and Dr. Kurt Nelson were at a cabin on Snowgrove Lake up in Ontario that had been broken into. That's the first time that I saw good DNA evidence. They had a bear board on the porch, and the Sasquatch had stepped on that, left some blood. They're there for a week. The last night they're there, pebbles start hitting the tin roof on the cabin. Here's two doctors and this whole staff, supposed to be scientific investigators, and what did they do? They all ran inside and shut the doors and pulled the blinds.
I remember that episode. I watched every single one of those. I remember that one.
I've seen that happen at a conference before, with some well-known people in the Bigfoot research world that
Mhm.
the juveniles were messing around the window and doing stuff. They were freaked smooth out and had people come down there and run off whoever was out there doing it. And
That's-
yeah, so
Mhm.
but I mean, if you don't know what you're dealing with, then I can understand it, from their point. If you don't know what you're dealing with,
Yeah,
then
but like I said, you've got to have that experience.
yeah,
But
you do.
until you've had that experience, don't be telling other people how it goes down. That's my
Again, like I
point.
said, with the mind speak stuff, this is the only head I've ever lived in my whole life. So who am I to say? I can't say that.
Well, I tell people, and I live by this. I've never learned anything worth knowing from somebody who agreed with me totally. You learn from people that have different opinions.
I think wasn't it Patton that said if everybody's thinking alike, somebody's not thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if it was or not, but it sounds like what he would say. What a unique individual in American history.
Terry, on those portals, were they colors? Did they have colors around them, colors in them?
We couldn't
Or-
see them visually. We could see them on the thermal, and the thermals they were false color.
Yeah.
So I couldn't tell you. They did have what appeared to be a mist around the edges, kind of like it was either steam or fog.
Yeah.
But as far as colors go, I couldn't tell you. And like I said, I was kind of the control for that for our group by not having any thermal stuff. I couldn't see it at all with my regular vision. And it was a pretty well lit night. We had some really freaky stuff happen that night. It's in the guy's book. We had Men in Black. We had crazy stuff.
Were there any stills that were taken or just photos of the portals?
I don't think so. We've got one video, and unfortunately, because of the potential TV stuff that's going on with this, I'm under an NDA, and they've pulled all the videos until they get this worked out.
Right.
There is a video that shows something. It's pretty large. It's bigger. It's probably twice. This was a big one. It's probably twice as tall as a human.
Yeah.
Because when the guys would walk up to it, you had a little bit of scale, and this thing was big. But it was obviously under some kind of intelligent control, because the moment they would get close to it, it's like you dial down the iris on a camera. It would just fade out.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'd wait a little while, and probably within another 30 seconds, here it is over here on this, a little bit further along on the field. They'd change direction and walk over to that. They'd get up on it, disappear, fade out again. So, again, I think the ant analogy was great. It's a highway that's just there. It's neither bad nor good. It's not meant to harm us. It's just there, and we don't really understand it yet.
I think that's just the coolest thing, that people are now seeing that all of this is normal. It's going on and has always gone on. And as we grow as a collective vibrationally, things like this are going to happen more and more and more, and happening to people who aren't talking about it too. So that's really cool.
Yeah, this was, like I said, it took me 4 days to figure out how to tell my wife about it. It's like, I got to tell her something, thank the Lord she loves me. Because I'm coming home, driving home from this place with David, and both of us are looking at each other like, did this really happen? Because both of us were like portals, whatever. Yeah, we saw him. We were there, and he was just as freaked as I was. Well, not freaked, but like, oh my gosh, this is real.
And that's even kind of makes me think of, that thing of, you can go two ways with this. You can look at it and you can go, oh my gosh, is this real or not? Because like when you have a face-to-face encounter with the big guys, or the dog man, or pretty much anything, you think, okay, I did not believe this. Well, now you find out it's true, and people go, wait a minute, this is what I believe, but now what else in my life that I believe is not what I thought it was.
Yeah, it just got real.
So it excites me, because this is stuff I've done all my life. So it's like, and I love seeing the change in people when these things happen, and it can be a positive change or not a positive change. So, but I knowing you, I can't imagine that you would take it and make it something it wasn't.
No, it is what it was, and I consider myself fortunate that I got to see it, to be honest.
Yeah. But you are poke worthy. The Sasquatch say you are.
Cheryl, when we were talking about that at the camp out, I remember Cheryl saying, well, you told them your name and they know who you are. So now if one of them knows you, they all know you.
Yep.
And
I
so
do.
I'm now at this point, I'm thinking, okay, then I better make sure I introduce myself when I go out somewhere, just so they know, hey guys, I'm just hanging out.
I think
That's
they probably know.
though.
Yeah, I think they probably know who you are before you ever speak.
Oh, well, I mean, there's no doubt they know who we are, or they know we're there as soon as we get out of the cars. I mean, that's a foregone conclusion anymore.
Oh, yeah, I've had that people ask me, what type of camouflage should I wear? Camouflage. You're dealing with somebody that knows when you turn off the paved highway, for Pete's sake.
Yeah, I've seen people in other groups that do ghillie suits and all this other stuff. It's like, man, you're only making yourself sweaty and itchy when you do that. They know you're there.
Or I've heard people say, be sure you wear the same clothes every time, so they'll recognize you.
Yeah.
They don't need that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember when I first started looking for information, I remember a guy saying, like, I always wear a red shirt so that they know I'm the guy in the red shirt. And I was like, oh, okay, that sounds like a good idea. And then now I look back on it, I'm like, man, like,
yeah.
I'm pretty sure they know before you even leave your house to go see them.
Yeah, they do. That's cool. So looks like we're a little over 10. So we've had a good 2 hours, even though we had our whatever you want to call that thing that happened.
Incident.
Which just, takes me back to a day when
I was on with Brian and Michael last week, and got to talking about the twins' birth. And they didn't want that.
Yep.
Cut us off right at the hips.
I was watching. Yeah. So yeah, that little interruption that we had tonight, it brought me back to the Blog Talk days too. So it was pretty fun. I didn't have the waiting room enabled then, but I have it now. So that won't happen next time.
Okay, so it was a good night. We've come away with some information. So it's a win.
Yes, we have.
Yeah,
Yes, awesome.
Yeah, I'm feeling much better about my conundrum.
That's a good deal.
Thom, I agree with Arla and Sam. your heart's going to tell you what to do.
Yeah.
And you'll be there, and you won't know who gets the information and who uses it. But the fact that you were there and they heard another opinion of what's going on, you planted the seed. You may never know, but you planted the seed.
Yeah.
Quite often, actually, very seldom that you do ever know.
Yeah.
It just happens. And I've had people walk out of presentation too. And at Ocean Shores a couple of years ago at the summit, started speaking. These two guys stood up, and just you could just see their body language. And as they stomped out, I thought, well, I guess they weren't here to hear me.
Well, the two that were at Richland at the conference, the one guy that was asking me the questions about fire and stuff with them, he told me I was out of order because I wasn't following the order of evolution. So I was out of order. And I just, okay.
Evolution, you mean that theory thing that people sometimes take for fact?
You know, like we did this and then we did this and then we had fire and then we did this and then, so I just want to say I'm always out of order. So, excuse me.
There was something that conference that I don't think I've ever seen at any other. So many people delivering a lecture and they answered as they asked a question. Their questions were all accompanied by a lecture. That was weird. Then Meldrum upset because I cut him off 15 minutes late.
Oops.
Well, guys, it looks like we're going to be done. I get to be the one that says, "Okay, guys."
Well, with this
here we go.
We could sit and talk all night,
Yes.
Yeah.
Arla, I'm so happy you're back in your family home. I'm watching you guys get going there, and that's just
thank you.
That makes me feel really great.
Thank
by
you.
the way, I've got my garden going too. I got 144 tomato plants growing right now. Well, they're about to germinate.
I used to plant that many and twice that many. I don't think I will be this year. So, but anyway, thank you, Terry. And we got some work to do, Terry, once I get to the place where
I'm
I
here.
can.
I'm here. Just give me a yell.
Alrighty.
All right. It was good talking to you guys.
Yeah, it was good talking to you guys too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
We'll see you guys.
Good night.
Good night.
All right. Good night.
Good night.